welcome to Crew Talk Webcast. I'm Jennica Schwartzman, and I am very lucky to be joined by all of you here. It's lovely to see your faces. Can I actually ask each of you to tell us your name and where you're talking to us from? I assume it's the same place where you work, so we can get an idea of who you are, and then we'll go through and ask you to tell us a little bit more about you. But let's start with your name so anybody at home can write down. So if they have any questions at the end, they can say, hey, you know, Brandon, I'd really love to ask you this one question if they have specifics. So what's everybody's name? Let's start with Mindy.
I'm Mindy Montavon. I am based in Los Angeles.
Great, thank you. And Ms. Hester?
I'm Hester Schell. I was based in the Bay Area, and when I retired from my college academic life, I moved back to Portland, which is on fire today.
And Magnus?
All right. My name is Magnus Chhan, and I'm from Los Angeles, out of Pasadena.
Great. And Brandon?
My name is Brandon Baker, and I'm in Fresno, California.
All right.
And Vinnie, last but not least.
I'm Vinnie Horst. I am also in the Orange County, Los Angeles area, originally hailing from Winnipeg, Canada. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so many questions that all of us are going to ask you now.
Well, no problem, eh? Just go for it, eh? Get that out of the way.
That's what I was going to ask, actually. So we're going to be talking about acting and movies versus commercial, but also just a lot of general questions. And I've written down some, and they're all gotchas. So you should be very concerned about what we're going to show your family. But I'd love to have anybody chime in and tell us a little bit about the type of work that you do, how you got into that specific type of work, if you work more commercial or work more film, or honestly work more industrial or voiceover, where you're at right now or in the last few years, since we don't know where we're at right now. And I'd love to know specifically, what's the last job that you booked? Because I think that's fun.
I can start. So I had planned on going to school at UCLA to study acting for film and TV, and instead ended up going to New York and training in musical theater because my thought was, well, if I can sing and dance, I can work more as an actress. It just kind of opens things up. So I did theater for about a decade on the East Coast where they pay you to do it. And then I moved out to LA where they don't really pay you to do it. And so out here, I focus more on film and TV, and I tend to do commercials, probably more than anything, commercials and industrials. I have never worked in an office, but I own a ton of suits simply for acting jobs. And yeah, I shot something earlier today. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff happening right now where they're putting ads on like Instagram and TikTok, Facebook stuff, and I think maybe it's for something like that, but it's a new kids streaming app. So I filmed that earlier today. Yeah.
Great. That's amazing that you were off in time to come on down here.
It was quick. I got to shoot it at home because we're doing a lot of that with the pandemic. So yeah.
Great. Well, let's ask Hester. Let's put you on the spot. I want to hear.
Oh, on the spot, my favorite place. Well, like Mindy, I started in New York City in theater late in the last century. And I think our journey is constantly evolving. So I was a performer for a long time, many decades. And then as I got older, there's less work. I became a director and started directing not just theater, but shorts and some other content. And because of teaching acting for as long as I've taught acting, I wrote a book on casting. And then I bought the business first. In the Bay Area, I ran Bay Area Casting News in the 90s when all of this access on the internet was just starting to build. And we were the first online audition source pretty much on the West Coast. It was called Bay Area Casting News. And when I retired from academia, I left the Bay Area and came back to Portland. And since I've been back up here, I've been really busy. I'm writing I just booked a lead in an ensemble feature, a psychological thriller that we're going to shoot up here. Depending on budgets and COVID, we might do it this fall, or we might wait till next spring if everything can just calm down a little bit. And then I booked a rewrite on a feature script, a big budget script. As a producer, a very well-known producer who lives down in Joshua Tree, hired me to do this major rewrite, and it's awesome. I'm having a great time with it. So I've been at it for a long time. I started out as an actor, and now I'm writing. I will coach actors if they really want me to, but you do something for that long. I've taught acting for 40 years. I'm really, really happy to be promoting my book and self-identifying as a screenwriter.
Yeah.
Thank you for highlighting that, Hester. That's an important thing that I'm sure all of us can relate to, is that at some point while acting, you recognize that you're very valuable, you have a lot to bring to the table, and you want to share it. And the roles have gone down. You're still booking, you're still in demand, but the roles change as you change, and the industry doesn't change as well. But thank you. That's amazing. We should definitely all get back on that later. Magnus, would you like to share a little bit more about your background?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Fresno. I went to Fresno City College, Fresno State, did a lot of theater, did a lot of comedy there. And then I moved to Los Angeles, 2013. So I've been here since then, doing a lot of comedy and improv, more recently stand-up. I work a lot, mostly commercially, though lately I've been trying to get into more and more theatrical rooms. The last thing I booked was a co-star on Young Sheldon.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, before everything shut down. Thanks. So yeah, just trying to keep the momentum and keep working and getting better in different aspects.
Great. That's wonderful. Congratulations. I'm sure we're all very excited for you for that one. Brandon, tell us more about your background and the last job you booked.
Just kidding. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so I started writing. I've always been a writer, and I love telling stories. And me and my best friend in high school we'd write together, and then in college we started making short films together. And he didn't want to act, and so we didn't want to call people, and so I was in them. So we ended up making a ton of short films. We just met a bunch of connections over the years, and in different ways we got those films out there. And yeah, I kind of caught the bug. I'd always been interested in acting, but I never thought I could do it. I had that kind of imposter syndrome, which I still have. But I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, I've been doing it for about 15 years now, mainly commercials, some short films. Just did a feature length for the first time like last year. And so it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, it's been a busy season. It was shut down for a while, so there was nothing happening. And now I just finished a short film, doing another one next month, and I have a sandwich commercial tomorrow. So I'm keeping pretty busy.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure we're all kind of excited for you that you have something happening next month. That's amazing.
Yeah, after months and months of nothing, it's been cool.
And Vinnie, would you like to tell us more about your background?
Yeah, well, it seems that I am the baby of the group. I am. I've actually only been acting for a few years. In fact, 2 years. I shouldn't lie. 2 years. Yeah, so I'm new to this whole thing, and I am very excited to be speaking with you guys, because I think I'm going to listen and learn a lot. But now, so my background is actually entirely the opposite of what you guys, what everybody else has talked about with their educated backgrounds. Mine is a computer science degree. So, yeah, I work in corporate America as a day job, and I have fallen completely in love with actually acting. And so I've been taking courses through various schools, mostly in the studios, and learning all the ropes that I can, and I've made a few small films, some shorts, some industrials, a little bit on the commercial side, some print, some modeling, just kind of feeling around and discovering what suits me. Yeah. So thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Well, that's actually a really great way to ask everybody and hop forward in the questions to say, what's the primary way that you are able to pay your bills? I don't know if the pandemic is going to be something you want to share much about, how you're paying your bills, if at all. But having a background, like when somebody's a medical doctor or somebody was in the military and coming to Los Angeles, you just have so much more to offer. And like, it's something that you can get into a writer's room if you're a lawyer, and you can be a consultant and you can work on things and bring so much authenticity to a role because you're seen as a real person with life experience in a specific area, and people want to like leech off of your real life. It's so exciting. So what are some of the jobs, if anybody wants to like share something that has probably helped them be a better actor, but also helped pay the bills in a more stable way? I'll go first. My husband pays for most of our lifestyle. I'm at home with the kids, and so we're both able to be actors, and he does handyman work. So it's flexible that he can go to any audition he wants. I can do the same. The flexibility is amazing. Everybody knows that we're actors, and we live in Los Angeles and Hollywood. So there's an expectation that most people are actors. So they're going to abandon their job midday for no reason and not tell you. But I have friends that have lots of different types of jobs in tech. So anybody else have a job like that?
Well,
my main source of income right now is script writing, rewriting. I used to do a lot of voiceover. I got into SAG and AFTRA up here in Portland back in the 80s because there was a small group of really talented people that could bring the skill level up, just raise it all up. So my bread and butter was voiceover and commercials. I did a lot of commercials up here when I was under 40. And as I got older, I made the decision to go and get an MFA so that I could continue to teach and get paid and do what I love and do productions. And so I became a professor of film and theater and was in California. So my once I kind of topped out in the casting ranges, then I spent the next 20 years in academia so that I would have a nest egg, I'd have a pension, and I could keep doing the work, keep directing and producing and writing. And then when I retired, now everything is wide open again. And the younger voters, please, we got to do everything we can to hang on to Social Security. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. And it's a lifeline for so many people. Yeah. So make sure you understand what's happening with our Congress with Social Security.
I think it's really important to bring up is that having a stable income as you're aging, you're still able to produce and work in the arts, but it's not really going to have the stability as the support from the government that is set in stone, hopefully. Anybody else? I know, Magnus, you were trying to say.
Yeah, I'm pretty much your typical actor. I serve and I bartend in the evenings, which works great for where I'm at. Because my wife, she works a normal 9 to 5. She's a director at UCPLA, and so it works out for taking care of our daughter. So I'm at home during the day, and then she's here during the evening. So it works out for us.
I have like Hester. I got my MFA also, and I'm now teaching. I was in retail for a decade.
Where did you go?
I went to Fresno State. In Fresno State, got my MFA there in 2015, and then now I'm teaching English at a bunch of different schools around here. And I could teach online right now, which is good and bad. I have kids and single dad, so it's kind of rough, but yeah, I'm able to still act and have that freedom.
I loved teaching acting. I did it for 40 years, both in a vocational situation through like Parks and Rec, and then in academics institutions, did a lot of guest speaking, visiting professor kind of thing, apart from my full-time job. And then I developed a whole series of seminars called the Director's Retreat, where I would have maybe 6 film directors and 12 actors, and we would go through scene study skills and how do you pull better performances out of your your cast. So we did that for many years down in the Bay Area, the director's retreat, and it was just so much fun. So I've been in both academia, vocational, professional teaching arenas. Yeah. So
Fresno needs you, Hester. We need.
What's that, Brandon?
I said Fresno needs you. I want to be in
needs me.
They don't really have those here.
Well, I don't know that I'm going to be able to come back to California. I'm freaked out about the fires. All right, that's my day. It's like, I know this is like common for you guys, but it rains all the time up here. How could Oregon be on fire?
Well, here it rains ash.
We do have that. And Mindy, I wanted to ask everybody if you can think of those places. What is one of the top 2 go-to places for good paying acting gigs that you go right now? What are the current online sources or in-person sources? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I would say there's 3 main sites online that I use for work. Actors Access, LA Casting, which is part of Casting Networks, which is more like the nationwide branch of it, and then Backstage. And Backstage is actually where I found most of my work throughout the pandemic.
Oh.
And I used Backstage back before like any of these platforms were online. And it was just like a newspaper that came out on Thursday that you'd pick up. Like Backstage is old school and still going strong.
And tell us, what's a newspaper?
What's a newspaper? I don't know, it gets like that junk on your hands and you feel all dirty and then smudges on your face.
You need them on Mad Men.
I gotta tell you, I needed one for a prop, and I was like, I don't know where to find them out here. Ralph's
Grocery store
does sell
You guys are funny.
if you need one.
And Magnus, are you using the same sites, or are there any other sites or resources you would share?
Yeah, those Casting Frontier is one that hasn't been mentioned yet. I use those and Casting Frontier, and all these go through my agent. So if I see something, I do normally just forward it because they don't like to have people double submit. So I'm not allowed to submit myself. If I see something that I think I'm a good fit for, I just forward it and make sure that I've been submitted for it.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. And Vinnie, are you on all these sites yet?
Yes, yeah, actually, all of them. And one of the things I wanted to point out, I find that there's different types of work on, like, focused on LA Casting, for example, is much more commercial work than it would be theatrical work. Whereas Backstage, for me, at least maybe in my wheelhouse, in the age that I play and so on, it's much more theatrical than it is commercial. Mm-hmm. So is that something that you guys all see as well?
On Actors Access, for people who are watching, if you're unfamiliar, theatrical is referring to TV and film, usually in Los Angeles, even though it also encompasses theater for most of the country and the world. But yes, Actors Access has more TV and film opportunities, episodics and features, and short films. And LA Casting has more commercial opportunities. That's where commercial casting directors put their focus. Casting Frontier has a good amount of both because it's also really powerful in different regional parts of the country. And what were some of the other ones that Backstage, a lot of, I'd say a large amount of opportunities in everywhere, but especially like theater, you don't really find as many other places.
Yeah, that's basically the main place I find any sort of theater. Would be Backstage.
Does anybody have any other, like for instance, there's a tip for Actors Access. When you're submitting to things, if you don't have a slate shot, which when you upload a headshot and you upload your reel, you need to have both on there in order to submit some places, because a casting director can click a little box and hide all submissions that don't have a headshot and a reel. They can also hide submissions that don't have a slate shot, which is like a 5-second shot during your headshot session where people are taking your photos, and you just take a video for 5 seconds. Hi, I'm Jennica Schwartzman, and I'm a cheerleader, or whatever it is that you would say, because that's definitely not what I would say. Example. And that, a slate shot, you upload along with your headshot so that the casting director can't click a little box and make you disappear with all those submissions that they just want to take those 10,000 down to 1,000. You don't want to be thrown out with the 9,000. So are there any other tips or any other tricks that you found with LA Casting or Casting Frontier, any of the online sites that you want to share? Or favorites? Yes, Hester.
I know it's expensive, but I have found it worth every penny. IMDb Pro.
Yes.
IMDb Pro has a casting button.
For finding work?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, IMDb
good
Pro.
idea.
And the nice thing about that is that it's all cross-reference. So you can see who the production company is. You can see what their track record is. You can see who they hired before. You can see what other casting directors they've worked with. You can research, the casting director that booked me on that is now working over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be on that show. That's my kind of show. That's my kind of type. That's my work. So I call it a reverse search. Start with what shows is it logical that your type that they need. Okay, we're all filling needs here, and find out as much as you can about everybody working on that show. As you know, it's about building relationships. Always about building relationships. And I will probably get to that, how people are increasing their Facebook hits and their Twitter feeds, and having between two actors, if one has a huge base and following and one doesn't, they're going to cast the one that has the bigger following, especially in LA and New York. That's not so much the case in the regional markets, but I'm probably getting off topic from the question a little bit. But anyway, reverse search IMDb Pro, and seeing where you have common connections, because that's one of the features on IMDb Pro. You're related to 20 people. As producer I'm working for right now on this rewrite, I'm checked out all his stuff on IMDb Pro. We have 200 people in common from all the projects that we've worked on. So things like that can build your interconnectedness and build relationships is going to lead to more work.
I completely agree. I found nothing but that to be the truth, is relationships actually are king here. I also want to know, what are other areas where you focus your energy and your attention when you want to collect those people, when you collect agents, when you want to get the attention of a manager or of a casting director, especially if you're targeted? What do you think is your best tool in connecting with agencies or people who will help you on the path?
Kindness.
Yes. And Hester, I love that you shared that being present on social media does help. It doesn't help everybody. It doesn't help every type, but it is a big determining factor between
the people that are in the same casting age range and type. You have to let go of thinking of them as your competition. They're your colleagues. They're your network. They're the people that can help you. You might have a doppelganger, and you see them in every audition you go to. That doesn't make them your enemy or somebody that you have to beat or compete against. Because it's ultimately not your decision, is it? It's out of your control. So please, be nice. Be kind.
I agree. I think that's a huge one, because that's what you're known for. And why else are you doing whatever it is you're doing? Does anybody else have something that really jumps out as something that really helped me connect with a great agent, or really helped put me in the right area to meet somebody who would be a good partner? I would probably offer that working on my reels and updating reels and putting them out there has been probably one of my number one marketing tools. I can take pretty headshots all day long, but I feel like when I've posted a reel or shared a reel or reached out to a casting director with something that I was cast in, or let's be honest, I created myself, because content creation is a part of the tool now, and then I put it out there, the actual short 1-minute video has really been one of my favorite tools to connect with people who can see exactly what Hester was saying. Like, this is the type, this is the person, this is what they represent. It's definitely more communicative than a photo now, and hearing somebody's voice, I think, is really important now. Where have you guys found agents or managers or partners? What types of forums or places or connected sites?
So along the same lines, Jennica, focusing my attention lately, given that I'm new to the industry and still finding my sea legs, one of the things that I have been focusing on is actually a YouTube channel and building that and giving myself an opportunity to create my own content for people to hear my voice, as you said, see my face, and for me to practice my craft. Because there's a certain way that you need to behave on camera, and there's skills involved there and so on. And so that's been my focus, and it has been fruitful to a degree. Certainly I have agents know, but I've had people reach out to me saying, hey, love the channel and would like to interview or would like to have a chat, or let's get together for coffee. I mean, these days it's more of a Zoom conversation. But just getting my name out through creating content of my own on YouTube has been helpful for me.
I agree. That's been my experience as well. I'm glad that you're creating content and you're able to speak your own voice and you're able to create a role around you. That's so valuable. Mindy, what has it been like with your agent and your manager? What is something that you'd want to tell somebody before they have their first agent or manager about the relationship or what that's going to look like?
I think a big part of it is making sure you're on the same page. I had met with one, I've been in LA for about 12 years now, and I met with one a couple times. Like I went in and then a couple years later went in, he definitely did not remember me. And it was kind of like, all right, so I want you to get this picture, this picture, this picture. And I had pictures and he didn't even want to see them. You know, he's like, oh, I see this. I was like, well, why don't you take it, you know? And it was just kind of like, I felt like just a number as opposed to like, let me tell you, like, these are the kind of things that I do. This is my strong suit. And for me, when I can talk to agents and I know that they're going to be pitching, that's massive, because if you don't have anybody who's going to pitch for you, then you might as well just be submitting yourself, because that's what you need, is that little extra oomph from your agent or your manager, you know?
Will you explain a little bit of what pitching entails and what that's like and what that means for most people?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, it's a relationship business. So it's easier for agents to, if they've been in the business for, 20, 30 years, and so they have certain relationships. A lot of casting directors have their like little group of agents that they tend to work with. The manager that I'm with, there are certain like casting directors who will specifically go to her and kind of say, I don't really want to put this out on all the casting sites and deal with the headache. Do you have anybody on your list? And so they can say, oh yeah, you're looking for somebody who does comedic work, who has a background in improv, and they know your specific skills. Like I've got a background in musical theater. I have a musical theater demo reel. And I had an agent for a while who'd be like, do you sing? Like, yes. And I have like, are you not even looking at my site? So it's just kind of making sure that your agents take the time to learn who you are and what you can do. Because if they don't, the only thing harder than finding an agent is finding a good one. So it's just important to ask certain questions and make sure they're willing to go to bat for you, because you need somebody to give you that extra push, because there's just so many people in the business that without it, you get lost.
Yeah. Has anybody had the best relationship with their agent before?
I had a really good agent when I was in Salt Lake City while I was in graduate school. Susie McCarthy in Salt Lake City, because I booked. She made money, I made money.
Sounds like a great...
I finally got SAG healthcare. It was we just had good communication. She didn't have a lot of really well trained people that could do print voiceover, commercials, features. I just, there's no substitute for being ready and knowing that your skill set, your tools are sharp. And we could wax poetic about all the different tools that are in the actor's box. But jumping back to the previous question, one thing that didn't come up with that would be, if you're not a union actor, to still go after the franchised agents. And that list is available to you on the SAG website. Stick to the franchised agents. They've been tested, tried and true, and they know the rules. And they take a lot of non-union people and get them going. So an agent that won't even look at your pictures wants you to go spend money on their photographer, that's right, thumbs down. Mm-hmm. It means they've got some kind of financial incentive to work with a photographer, and they're all just, shoot more pictures, make money. Just hit the door. Don't even call them back. But the franchised agents cannot do that kind of thing. So even if you're not in the union, it's a pretty extensive list. It's not.
It's really good if you're in. I mean, it's nationwide. So
it is nationwide.
Literally go and look up the state that you're in and see everybody who's listed. So if you're not in a big city, it's a great opportunity to find your way in.
And does anybody have any tips to share on what to avoid when you do that? Like any way to tell who is a predatory agent who's taking advantage versus somebody who's really genuinely interested in seeing you?
Yeah, if they try to sell you a package of classes, and if they try to sell you a particular photographer, those are warning signs.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, being new to the industry, that I was taught right from day one, is that if somebody's asking you to pay to participate, it's not cool. You shouldn't participate. You shouldn't pay for auditions. You shouldn't pay to be represented. The reason when you pay your representative, your agent or your manager, that's going to be when you book or when they book you work. Then they get paid. You don't pay them ahead of time. Right. So one of the things that I love to share with people who are even newer than me in this industry is that I suppose it's in my own head. When I first started this thing, I thought, wow, this world, it must be different. It must be different from real life. No, it's exactly the same as real life. This acting thing, this whole entertainment industry, follow your gut, just like you would if somebody you meet in the street, if you don't have the right vibe and you walk away, you should do the same thing here. It's real life. It's no different.
And I really want to touch on what Mindy brought up, is that agents, you can tell the good ones from the bad ones. The good ones have good relationships. When you're booking and you're seeing some of the same people and they're going out to the same people, it's because they've been here for 12 years. They've been here for 50 years. They know people. So when a casting director has this group of agents that they see, it's because, well, we all used to be interns together. We all used to be assistants together. We all went to USC together, 25 years ago, but nobody knows that. We used to party together. There's lots of reasons. But that's really good when somebody has a lot of connections and they've been here for a long time. It's very valuable, and you want to be a part of a relationship like that. You want to not just be a part of it to take advantage, but you want to be in a group that can last. That has never been
relationship business, really, more than that's kind of what I learned. It's like, number one, what do you look like? Are you fitting like the specs? Who do you know that'll even like get you in there to begin with? And then it's like talent. Like, sure, yes, talent is important, but I feel like sometimes the other things trump it, because it gives you that edge to, why do people know? It's like nepotism is a thing. Unfortunately, it just is, but I think it's like that, in every business. So.
And let's jump forward to a question I had sent to you guys about what do you do to get rehired? Since it is a relationship business, and Hester, I agree, kindness is super important. The day you arrive on set, what do you make sure to do that day to get invited back to that set?
Know your lines. Stay positive. So I'm in Fresno. I don't have an agent. I don't have any of this stuff. That's why I've been silent. But it is about relationships. It's about being nice, being willing to play, being available, doing what the director asks you to do, having a good attitude. those simple things are really what continue to get me work over and over again. And I know I'm not always the first choice, even around here. But I'll get calls because people know I'm ready and willing, and I'll have a positive attitude, and I'll add something to the production that not everyone does. Some people are super negative, or some get super in their own heads about it, and for different reasons. But yeah, it really is about making those connections, and that's.
I show up for an acting gig on set. I make sure I know who the PAs are.
Yeah.
They're going to be your lifeline. God bless the PAs. I learned names. I used to shake hands a lot, but we don't do that anymore. I think if you genuinely care about people, because you don't know if that PA might be hiring you in 5 years and they're directing a feature. You don't know. You can't make judgments. Someone who you might think is an idiot might be the sharpest tack in the box. We all have to work against that, the stereotype of the hard to get along with, fussy actor that's over demanding. Whatever you get for a dressing room is whatever you got, whatever this production company could afford. So check your complaints, curb. Don't bring them on set. This is the budget. This is your trailer. This is what we're dealing with. We're not on a back lot and we're not in the studio. Deal with it. So be flexible and roll with the punches.
Yeah, I would say just kindness, and like everyone else is saying, because it really is all about relationships and networking. Because a lot of the networking I've done like 10 years ago, or just maintained relationships and friendships, have helped me like recently. And you just never know when those relationships are going to come back around to help you, or you can help another person. So just being nice to everybody that's on the set, no matter what level they are, because you just really never know when it's going to come around and be able to help you or help them. So,
and for the newbies, there's a reason why we talk about sports when we're hanging around at craft services or having a meal. You don't talk about your personal life, you don't talk about sex, and you don't talk about politics. Just those are the rules. You stay away from those topics. Yeah. Baseball's wonderful. I miss it.
And there's other things. If you don't know sports, you can talk about, grocery prices. I don't know. There's a lot of
whatever snacks there are at the craft station,
Yeah. Here's a survival tip. Just walk away from complainers. Just walk away. Don't stand there, because somebody's going to see you standing there and hear that there's a group of people complaining about something, and then you're standing there. Maybe you didn't complain. Just walk away. Be polite. Excuse me. Got to go take care of something.
That's a good way to get out of it,
Don't
too.
feed into the problem. Don't, sounds cliche. You're not part of the solution. You're the problem.
I met Magnus, actually, in 2012 on a set, and he was there I saw you many days.
Yeah.
Generously doing a very small role in a movie, and I was an actor on it, but I was also
and she was great in it, by the way. Super good, super funny.
No one knows yet, the movie hasn't come out. But when you're on set and it's your first day on set and you have a speaking role, because that's a little different than just doing general background. If you have a speaking role on your first day on set, since Magnus, I know that you've had a really great attitude and gave it your all. What's a piece of advice for somebody's first time walking on a speaking role set?
I try to maintain the same attitude as when I don't have a speaking role. Just be kind to everybody, speaking role or not. Show up, be prepared, on time, ready to do the work, and to be available too. Because I know a lot of people, there's a lot of downtime when you're on sets, and they're off goofing around or have headphones in, and and people are looking for them and they don't know where they are, and that's huge stress. So the more available you can be and ready to go, and with just a good, strong, friendly, positive attitude, it really does go a long way.
That's great advice.
And I think,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think something that often gets lost is the fact that it's an ensemble and everybody's working together, and unless it's like like, let's say it's a film, if it's like an indie feature and you don't have like stars, so there's nobody like who's been attached from it from the get-go. Oftentimes the actor is the last piece of the puzzle to kind of get added in, you know, especially for like smaller roles, you know. It's like you're added and you're there to do a job. All these other people are there to do their job, and it's like you're all working together. And I think that oftentimes there can be like ego that gets in the way. I mean, it doesn't necessarily just have to be actors. Like, there can be like egotistical, you know, people behind the scenes too. But I think just remembering that you're all in it together and everybody's got a role to play to make things work, I think helps kind of calm the nerves if you're nervous, and just maybe like, you know, make you just grateful for getting to be a part of it.
I agree. When Brandon, I wanted to ask you, when people walk onto one of the sets that you guys have been making, because you guys have worked together a lot over the years, I like to, when I book a role, bring 10 Starbucks gift cards for $10 each. And when I meet somebody in wardrobe, I go and I like go, Caroline. And then when I'm saying goodbye at the end of the day, I say thank you. And I say, Caroline, you were so helpful. I really loved how you worked with me in wardrobe. This is, you know, here's a Starbucks gift card. And I do that, but I only have like 10. Because if it takes away a good chunk of the cost of me being there, the investment is that I think I'm coming back.
Yeah.
What are some things?
That's a great idea. I love that.
That's a really good. Yeah.
I was just going to say thank you cards to the casting director, whether you got the job or not. We used to do picture postcards as a follow-up. Remember those? Does anybody do those anymore?
They exist. I do.
But some of them sent back. Brandon, what can somebody do on one of your sets to make sure that you know we want that person back?
You mean if I'm like producing or
Ensemble team.
I usually hire people who have good reputations. First of all, I'll look for people who are connected with someone I know maybe, but even if not, maybe I've seen them in something. And they usually, I mean, around here we all kind of know each other, so it's kind of cheating. But usually they already have good reputations. But for them to stand out, they wouldn't need to buy me any cards, although I might start requiring that. But they would just having a positive attitude, not being super negative. If they're super nervous or something, just that they're able to handle that and be able to verbalize it. Because that's fine, because if people get like that all the time, that's normal. But just that they're a team player. I think you've all kind of said it. I don't know if I can add much to that. I know when I'm doing a role.
Well, you know, Brandon, the person that's negative and complaining, that's what you remember.
Right.
And you remember not to bring them back.
Yeah. And I think people are smart enough, at least in this small community, to not do too much of that, because it gets out really quick. I know for me, though, when I get in my own head when I'm acting on set, I just remind myself, just have fun. Like we get to play. Like this is a gift, you know. And so I think I look for that in other people too, when they have that same mentality.
That's right.
So we've covered some of like on-set culture a little bit about what you bring to the table. And I want to know from you guys and your individual opinions, when you're watching something, you're watching TV or film or commercial or any type of thing, or maybe like you're watching like a sexual harassment video, training video at work. What actor do you remember watching and then looking them up? I mean, like, oh my gosh, this guy is so hot in this movie, but maybe not so hot. Let's stick to acting. This person is such a good actor. Oh my gosh, their name is Matthew Good, and I'll be following this person forever. What is somebody like that you've watched? Vinnie, do you have somebody like that?
I haven't looked anybody up, but I want to answer the first part of the question, which was, are there any actors that I have watched, and what have I observed about them? And for me, that actor that I always go back to, and this is going way back, is Peter Falk. If you remember, he was the Lieutenant Columbo from 1968 to 2003. I always remember that.
I'm going to show them cams. You just keep talking, and I'll look up Peter Falk and show.
Peter Falk. You'll recognize it. But just when I watch him, one of the things as when I'm starting out acting is that you just do too much, right? You're just trying to overdo it, and with the facial expressions or with the hand movements, or that's Peter Falk, and he doesn't do any of that. He lives in the moment, and he just is, and it was such an interesting thing to see and to realize what was happening. I think that was the key for me, is to realize that he's not doing anything. He's just living and being and being an actor on a set, and that was really interesting. So Peter Falk is my guy for sure. Love him.
I would say that I think of the same thing as Christoph Waltz. I just feel like he's just being. We're accidentally getting this. Yes. Does anybody else have an actor that like really jumps out at them, or they were just so?
Yeah, one of the newest members of Saturday Night Live, Chloe Fineman.
I'll show the audience.
She's got a lot of she does impersonations, and I cast her in a pilot that I did in California probably 6 years ago, and she'd just gotten out of Tisch School of the Arts, and
yeah, I've seen her.
Yeah, so I've worked with her, and now she's on SNL. It's just amazing, and then COVID hit, so I hope they can get back to work soon.
She's having a heyday, though. Like what she brought to SNL, the internet version.
She just jumped right into a star position. Yeah, but she had done. She's on YouTube, and you got to watch her do her impersonation of Melania Trump. It's hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
Witherspoon and a spot-on Drew Barrymore. You wouldn't even know it.
Oh, I've seen the Drew Barrymore. Timothy Chalamet. Yeah, check her out. I want her in my movie.
I want her in all of my movies. Anybody else have an actor that you're watching? Or I know a lot of people said this. With the
Sean Colin Young. SHAWN. Sean Colin Young did Heart Baby, independent feature, incredible performance. He's somebody to keep an eye on. If you're watching, hello, hi Sean. And I found him because he gave me permission to put him in put his headshot in my book. So here he is, Sean Colin.
Oh yeah,
Young. So there's my book. Talk about that later. It says for film directors, but actors are getting a lot out of it. Wait, what's on the other side of the table?
You got to know both sides. Yes.
Yep. I'll just hold it up here. You can get it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble on all outlets. Second edition. It's a good book.
When you are watching things, have you completely changed or changed your mind about an aspect of the film industry watching it now since you've been acting?
Oh boy. Yeah. I started in the 70s, and we had to wait on the street corner in New York for the Wednesday, or what was it, Mindy? Thursday afternoon for Backstage to come out.
Yeah.
You guys have the whole world at your fingertips. It's amazing. The resources, it's all right there. The technology, we didn't have video cameras. We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah, the ableism really shows that people who could stand, especially in New York, on the street for hours and hours and hours at a time, completely like made up and ready to go, is a very different world. Nobody here in LA understands what the world of New York was. And nobody understands that here we're a joke to people who are like classic New Yorkers because we've done so little.
Yeah.
And a lot of what you look like. But we also have a completely different culture of casting. I know Fresno would have a completely different culture of casting. I want to hear a little bit about, does anybody have something about their casting experience that feels like it's different from other places or they've been told is unique? For instance, I grew up in the heyday of casting director workshops in Los Angeles. They were something you had to be doing often, and if you weren't doing them, you were judged. That like, well, you're just not investing in yourself. Even if a casting director said definitely don't do that, you still were judged because where are you going to send those postcards every time you get new headshots? What are you going to do every time you change your look? How are you going to get seen? It was a place to be seen again. And then casting director workshops, they became big after the writer's strike. And then a few years later, there was an incident with predatory practices, and they disappeared. And now you're judged for doing them. So I feel like there was a really specific LA culture of casting director workshops that when I had friends visit from Northern California or people from New York, it just didn't exist like that. It would never happen. It was very weird. I went and visited New Mexico, and I wanted to get a New Mexico agent back when that was popular. And when I was there, I was like, how do I go to casting director workshops? And they were like, go away. That's dumb. Does anybody have any experiences like that were so different? I know, Hester, I'm sure you have stories, but Brandon and Vinnie, you've done the switch from Fresno to here. You would have a different idea of what it's like. Nobody?
Well, okay, I'm gonna
I thought Brandon
say
said something, but
it's related to the question. Being a person of color in a regional city, for example, if you're a good actor and you have any kind of color, ethnicity, anything besides whitey, you're going to do really well up here because there's less trained, ready, available people of color that are on set ready. Does that make sense?
I think, well, right now, anything other than whitey is probably going to be good in any market, quite honestly. It's it's in vogue right now.
Yeah.
The internet's made it easier to access all different types of people who are able to click a box and say, I am an amputee, I am real, or I'm willing to admit I'm trans, I am real. It makes it easier to click boxes and find people a little bit easier to say, I need specifically somebody who's from this area of the Philippines who speaks with this dialect, like you can find now, which before you had to rely on casting directors and agents to have been as inclusive to have them on their roster or know somebody who knew somebody who did a play once. It's definitely easier.
Yeah, and I think just generally speaking, throughout the past few years, doing self-tapes, where you audition on like a tape, please, digitally, YouTube link, but you record yourself and you send them. And now, especially because of the pandemic and everything being shut down, more and more offices are turning to doing these online self-submissions. And so it provides opportunity for people across the country. So you don't have to necessarily be in the big cities to get these things. Sometimes if it's a smaller role, they're going to try and cast it locally. I see things all the time, must live in Austin, Texas, must live in New Orleans, wherever, what have you. But typically speaking, it's a really good time, and the industry keeps shifting more and more to this online presence so that you can do these submissions regardless of where you live, which is kind of liberating, I think.
I agree. And now that we're in our last bit, I want to ask anybody watching if you have questions, general questions for the whole group or questions for individually, like Vinnie, Magnus, I need to know this. Hester, please tell me. Please start typing that now so I can keep an eye on it, and I'll be sure to ask before we're done. But I would actually love to transition to what you're bringing up, Mindy. The global pandemic has decimated what we were all working in as a modern film industry. And I feel like there's trends that are already starting to change things. There are decisions that are made in development that are going to change about a year or two from now. We're all going to feel when it comes to getting on those sets and the way those are distributed and consumed as an audience. Every part of the pipeline has changed at least a little bit. Does anybody have a good idea of something that they'd want to share with somebody else that I'm seeing this trend? Vinnie, since you're you're a little bit newer to some of those processes, I bet it's been confusing to have some things change. Like before we used to do headshots a certain way, and then we slowly got more headshot with digital age. And then I feel like we're in a trend of, wait, what does this full human look like again? So what have you seen since you've been here?
Well, with respect to things like headshots and media, I think the confusion, I think it's a great word for somebody who's just starting out is what is correct, right? I don't have an agent. I don't have a manager who's willing to or who can inform me, tell me what is, this is the direction you should go. So it's a matter of figuring it all out on my own. And then when these things change, especially in the world of that we live in COVID, a little bit lost. But that's okay. At least for me, it's a great opportunity to learn and to reinvest in, to use one of my corporate words, to reinvest in my career and figuring it out and just enjoying the process, because it's going to take some time, and that's okay.
I don't think anybody knows what's right yet. In my experience, I've met casting directors who have leaned into doing Instagram Lives. Has anybody raised your hand if you participated in Instagram Lives by casting directors? See, you might not even know it's happening. But
tell me what it is.
Individual offices are going on Instagram. It's an app, and they're doing live videos that they're telling you, like, at 4:00 on Wednesday, September 9th, we're going to talk about self-tapes, what we're seeing in trends, and what we want you to know about it. Or our office is going to change the way we're doing this type of thing, so we're going to talk about our office-specific information. And so all these casting directors are doing outreach, or one person from their office who knows how to use the computer is doing the outreach. And then you're watching all these things and realizing that there's no consensus, Vinnie.
Yeah.
Like, everybody has a different style. We had today an actor, a friend of mine in my network, who wanted to know on his Zoom audition if he doesn't like the quality on his computer versus his phone. And a girlfriend was saying, well, the phone Zoom app lighting is really bad. You definitely need to use a computer. And someone who's saying the sound doesn't work on the phone well. You should definitely use the computer. And mine have all been computer. But these are all conflicting. Does anybody have any like trends or things that they know has changed or will be changing for you personally? You just chime in.
Well, the video submission, we're not doing in-person reads. We haven't been doing that for long before COVID. I cast a feature in the Bay Area that was entirely video submissions before if we're bringing you in, it's a callback. If you're actually meeting the casting director, it's a callback. They've filtered you into the yes pile through whatever marketing materials you have out there already. So video submissions is, I think, now the standard. I don't think we'll ever do, your first look, your first time meeting a new casting director, first round. It's all going to be, and that's the mentality I tell my clients is if you're in the office, it's a callback.
And some of the stuff on my level, again, being the beginner, I see a lot of opportunity for me to work with in the academia with the directors that are working at USC, at UCLA, at NYFA, NYFA, the schools, the film schools where they're teaching their students. They're looking for actors constantly. I see on the casting websites. I can submit myself for just to participate in a class through Zoom.
Yeah, it's going to be the new world. And I know with people like Brandon, I know you said that you're a parent. Magnus, you're a parent. I'm a parent. Like, knowing exactly what you just said, Hester, that if you're in the room, it's a callback, is nice for parents. I don't have to pay for a babysitter. And even though my kids are in every single one of my auditions now, it's not really against my type. It might work against you, Magnus, with your look. Really young. Yeah. Sometimes it's fine. And people understand. A casting director I was just auditioning with, their child, I could hear them in the background. So it does level the playing field for parents, people with lifestyle obligations. There's tons of stuff. We only just have a hello from Matthew Polino. Hello back. And I would love to hear from each and every one of you. We can go through the same order with Mindy, Hester, Magnus, Brandon, Vinnie, about what you want to plug that you're working on and what you want us to know about you as we close out our wonderful panel. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, well, I do. So I see 2 questions in the Q&A box. Yeah. One's got my name, so I can answer Joel's question.
Great.
So I'll start with that. So the process. Basically, my like the last big thing I did before shutdown was it's for season 2 of For All Mankind, which hasn't come out yet. Yeah, it's good. It's so good. I can't wait. I hope it's coming back.
It is coming back.
Yeah. As everything, we just wait and see what happens. So my audition, it was from my agent. I got the notification the day before. And so the next day I went to the studio, and it was just a little casting office. And it was interesting because it was a love scene, essentially, and not a whole lot of lines to it. And there was a chair set up, and basically casting was like, we don't want to see a slate. There's a chair, go. So I was like, okay. So essentially it was almost like improvisational. And then I just kind of did it. I left, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like such an idiot. And I can't, I was like this, I'm so, and then you run it in your head and you're like, oh, I could have done this. Oh God, what? When I got a call from my agent within an hour saying that I was pinned for the project. And I ended up booking it, but literally I was, I had to wait for like the official booking, but essentially I was booked for it, and had like the pending offer within a day, like 24 hours of getting the audition. So a lot of TV stuff like that happens really, really fast.
Yeah.
So it's tough because you really have to have the flexibility to be like, oh, okay. And I've had so many auditions where it's like, can you be here in 2 hours? And you're like, hopefully, that whatever, if you've got a survival job, that it doesn't kind of get in the way. So yeah, that was my experience.
How can we watch For All Mankind?
It's Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. So the first season is out. The morning show, that's where you watch the morning show as well. And that was like the main, it's so good. And that was the main show that was kind of plugged for the first season of Apple TV. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know if they have any deals. Like, all of like the streaming services, it's like, ooh, if you're with AT&T, you can get a free trial of this. So I don't know if they have any deals running, but
Affordable. That one's pretty cheap, I think, and it's worth it.
yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, C is amazing. For All Mankind is amazing. Morning Show is amazing. Every show we've committed to watching slowly throughout the pandemic, and they're heavy hitters. They're obviously going after HBO's prestige, and they are nailing it.
Yeah, so good.
Mystic Quest is really good. Good one.
I'm getting it. Okay, do you have anything to plug, Mindy, before we go on to Hester?
Have anything to plug? I don't think so. I had a production company, and we had done a web series, and we did a short, and that's all out there. But that's I feel like that's in the past now. We're moving on to the future. So who knows what's in store? That's all I'll say.
Hester, would you like to give us a little plug about your book? That could be the official line of it.
Yeah, but before I do, the previous question about what else we're doing.
Yeah.
Keep working. In the writing world, what's getting greenlit lately, what they're looking for are like one location, small casts, low budget. So as an actor, develop relationships with directors, find a script, create your own project. The idea of being self-directed, and I don't mean dress yourself on set. I mean self-determination. What I'm doing next is up to me, not waiting for somebody else to give me permission to do it. So develop relationships with writers and directors, put your own team together, go hit those festivals. There's no such thing as an out-of-work actor. There's always something that you can be working on. So self-determination. I was a casting director in the Bay Area for 20 years, and so I would frequently get phone calls from directing students, needing actors, and the level of innocence and naivete was huge. So the kinds of questions I would answer, I went, gosh, if this guy needs just that simple, basic information, then there's a lot of people who do. So Casting Revealed, a guide for film directors. The first edition was published by Michael Weezy Books, Michael Weezy Productions. Save the Cat, some of a great catalog of great film books. You want to be familiar with the titles. And it was the only book of its kind that's an A to Z industry standard procedures for the director's point of view. And then actors started buying it. Oh, they want to know what's going on behind the scenes. So that was the first edition. And then the second edition, as soon as it came out, the first one, I realized, oh my gosh, I left this out. I left that out. So the second edition came out in 2017 with a new publisher. I'm with Routledge Press now, and it's now in several university reading lists and whatnot. So it's a practical manual of standards, guidelines, how to get it done, how to run the room as a director, how to get better performances out of the actors. So there's a really great chapter on just the basics of what it means to be a great actor. And Vinnie hit it early on in this conversation today. It's about being real and being in the moment. It's not about playing some made-up character, especially in film and television, and especially in commercials. You're working from yourself most of the time. So it's all available in all the regular outlets. Thank you.
Magnus, do you have anything that you want to plug?
I don't have anything that I know of that's on the horizon, but I can plug my social medias. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at my name, Magnus Chhan, and I usually post all my projects and shows. And if I have any stand-up shows or improv shows coming up, I usually post those mediums when they're coming out.
Great. Thank you for doing that. Everybody, you have an option in the chat for all panelists and all attendees, and just click and enter your social media handle and what site that is so that other people can just like screenshot it or whatever for later.
Where do I do that?
If you go down to the chat tab at the bottom, it should already say all panelists, but if you do all panelists and attendees and you write your social media handle, all people should be able to access that pretty easily.
Okay. Casting Revealed is on Facebook, so if there's anybody out there that wants, I'm happy to give you some free time. Just put your questions in on the Facebook page.
And she reads scripts and she does script stuff. So every single one of these actors, I imagine, is writing. Now you have like an in to be like, hey, Hester, I love your stuff. You're so smart. You said all this amazing stuff. You want to read my script and talk to me about it? Like, this is your chance to annoy her. Brandon, would you like to plug what you have coming up?
Sure. Commercial by Deli Delicious. You can always watch the Deli Delicious commercials. Got a bunch of those. And Satisfy Gaming. They make, if you have a Nintendo Switch, you need to go there anyways because they make a really cool grip for it. So I'm in those coming up. And then a couple of short films. One is a Western, which I think might actually be a feature film, called Above Snakes, and then a comedy called How I Raised My Mother. So those are all coming out in the next...
I like that title. That's funny.
I keep wanting to say How I Met My Mother, but it's How I Raised My Mother. Mm-hmm. They're tricky. Those are all coming out, and I'm in those. I didn't write those, but I'm...
Please share how people can follow you so that when casting time comes up for this Western that could be made into a feature, everybody here has access to, inside info about how to get to you.
Yeah, I put my Instagram. I post things on that a lot. So at BB Brandon Baker on Instagram. So
great.
See my videos on there.
Do you have anything you want to plug as well?
Me?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was Mindy. Sorry, I got cut off. Yes, I do. I have two things to plug. I have my YouTube channel, which is called The Starting Actor. You can find it at www.vinniehorst.com. That's my name, /YouTube, and that'll take you there. And my focus is on talking about my experience as I learn the industry, as I learn how to act, and just my observations, some tips and tricks that I learn along the way, so stuff like that. So check that out. You can also find me on Instagram at Vince Horst, VINCEHORST. And the other thing I wanted to plug is me. I am a hungry and wanting actor. And I'm really looking forward to extending, extending my wings and flying a little bit. So if you have any work out there, I'm your man.
Great, thank you. And
Great plug.
So much for joining us here. We're very lucky to have your time, and everybody who is attending, thank you so much. Your time is extremely important as well. And thank you for participating in the chat. We love being able to see and talk to people. And I got to see all your beautiful faces for an hour and 11 minutes, so it's positive for me. I'm an actor and producer and writer as well, and I have a book called Movie Baking, the Indie Work-at-Home Parent Filmmaker, which is about the philosophies behind lifestyle, obligation, artistic life. And it can be applied to any type of life where you have to balance little humans or doggies or caretaking for older parents or people in your life, as well as creating art and the tips and tricks of sets, all indie filmmaking stuff. So I am happy to engage with anybody online about that as well. Thank you all. Oh, Magnus is also a movie that's coming out in the next few months called Brick Madness, that he and I are both actors in. Brick Madness is distributed through my company, Little Sister Entertainment, which is an indie film, feature film distributor. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, everybody. And please continue to look at this chat and screenshot it right now for the next 4 seconds.
How do I screenshot?
So
Command 5, Control, I forget. How do I do screenshot?
Yes, Shift Command 4 gives you a square that you can.
Got it.
So
it was great to meet everybody. I'm so happy that everybody's working and busy, and we will get through this pandemic.
We will. Thank you so much.
We will get through this.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
You might be looking at Shoot Stop Video and thinking, so how does this all work? Is this about A, setting up the whole crew for me, B, just giving me options and having me handle it, or C, something in between? Well, it's D, all of the above. To put it simply, we're here to help you in any way that we can to get the crew and talent you need for your next production. We believe that every level of video production can benefit from a well-maintained list of qualified crew members for every position. This goes for pre-pro, on-set, and for post. Every project is different, so if you need a producer to help manage the decision-making process, then we can totally do that. If you're already a producer and want to build your own crew from scratch, then go for it. We're here to make your next production a success. And if you are crew or talent looking for producers that want you, then you've come to the right place. Sign up now, and also leave a referral for any solid people that you know that are already on here. Thank you for considering Shoot Stop Video, and happy shooting!